Hello, Nintendo Wii here, welcome back to Let's Play Retro Games, and welcome to my tour of the London gaming market for July 2018. I really hope you enjoyed my pickups video that I posted yesterday, and now I'm going to talk you through some of the games that I found while I was looking around the show. And we're going to start here by taking a look at some Gameboy games. And I've actually got this pre-recorded so I can actually pause the video at any time if I want to go into any more detail. The game I picked up there, or someone did I think, was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on the N64, which is a game that I've never actually played, but I really love the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, so I'd definitely love to give that one a try at some point. There's a few GBA games there. I see Mega Man Battle Network, Breath of Fire, Banjo-Kazooie, Grunty's Revenge, and now we're looking at some more N64 games. And I think the name of the stall was Press Start Gaming. I'm trying to have a look at the labels there, but I can't quite see. So on this display at the back we've got loads of great games here. There's Zombies Ate My Neighbours, or just Zombies as it's called in the UK. Harvest Moon on the PlayStation. Crash Bandicoot 2 there. And then we've got some N64 games here. There was a few that I'd never even seen before, like that one there called Mace the Dark Hour, maybe? Not sure, but it's only 10 quid. Also Top Gear Rally, Rampage, Conker's Bad Fur Day for 95. They've got Paper Mario there as well. There was one that I was tempted to pick up, but I didn't actually get it in the end. Looking around here some more, there's some SNES games. Earthworm Jim for the SNES there. SimCity, 8 quid. That's a really good price because that's a great game. A few NES games there as well, and a few N64 ones. Now, I just picked this one up because this is one that I haven't actually seen before either. This is called Monster Truck Madness 64. They also add Hexen there as well, another game that I want for the 64. There's not that many more that I want now, so I'm kind of getting to the end of my 64 collection. Apart from Japanese 64 games that you can see there, I've never really tried to get into Japanese N64. There's also a few Super Famicom games there as well. And I'm just going to pause now to take a look at the NES games at the back there. Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. That's another game that I really want. It is fairly expensive, but I think it is worth the price, especially if you get it in the box like that with the manual in a really nice condition. It's one of my favourite games. I've got it on the Virtual Console, but I'd love to have the original someday. And there's also some PlayStation 1 games up there too. And one of the focuses of this event was the PS1, so I'm actually looking at a lot of PlayStation 1 games here. I will pause because I go past fairly fast. I can see Pandemonium 2 there, Buster Move 4, Rayman 2 in the corner. Rayman 2 is a brilliant game. Silent Hill, Descent I hear is pretty good. G Darius there on the right, that's quite a rare one I think. Yeah, loads of great games there. If you guys see any games that you like, let me know, because I've never really taken PlayStation 1 games that seriously before, but I am considering it. So if you've got any recommendations, definitely put them in the comments. Let me know if there's any I should be picking up, because I'm definitely looking into PlayStation a bit more. But mostly, as I'm sure you're aware if you saw my pickups video, I'm looking at Sega Saturn games. So I'm going to pause here and have a look at some of the Saturn games. There's Virtuon, Sonic R, Discworld. I see that one around a lot. Is that game any good? Let me know if you've played it or not. Wiz as well, I've seen that one around quite a bit. They've also got Clockwork Knight, the original, Buster Move 2. Some really good games there and some really nice prices as well. Nothing too crazy expensive. There was a few Dreamcast games in the corner there as well. And some Master System. And this stand here was called Gold Saucer, or Golden Saucer I think. And once again we're taking a look at a few more Sega Saturn games here. Warcraft, Super Hydlide, one of the worst RPGs ever, apparently. I picked that game up because it looked fairly interesting, but it actually turned out to just be a boring golf simulator, so I put that one down pretty fast. Scorcher, never heard of that one before. Blazing Dragons as well. I think I skip over this, but I might come back to it later. Road Rash I hear is pretty good. Dark Saviour, don't really know a lot about that one. I can see Street Fighter Alpha 2 there as well. There was quite a few games I'd never actually heard of, and I was tempted to pick them up. That one's just out of shot there, sorry. I think I wasn't looking at where I was pointing the camera. So it's just out of shot, but I did think that one looked fairly cool. I can't remember what it was called. Johnny something? I don't know. The Horde, that one looked fairly interesting as well. Maybe some sort of strategy RPG game. There's Earthworm Jim 2, Hexen, Area 51. That one at the back looked like some sort of futuristic racing game by EA. I didn't pick it up, but it kind of reminded me of Wipeout, which is always good. Yeah, sorry about the camera angle there, not the best. And we went past that pretty fast, so let's rewind just a little bit and have a look at some of the more expensive Mega Drive games on display there, and a few Mega CD games above there. You can see Aero the Acrobat 2, Shining Force, which is a game I really want, so I'm definitely looking at picking that one up at some point in the future. Gunstar Heroes, Ristar, Double Dragon, Story of Thor. I definitely want to get that one as well, that looks really good. And of course there's boxes full of Mega Drive games. And here it is, the holy grail of Sega Saturn collecting, Panzer Dragoon Saga. I did ask how much it was just out of curiosity, and I think they said it was $350. And I am really kicking myself because I did find it in GameStation many years ago for £40, complete in box, and I'm really kicking myself that I never picked it up. Also got there KO2 Flying Squadron, a game that I really want, but that's 110 quid. A lot of the Saturn games that I really want are really expensive. There's Shining Wisdom, I actually picked that one up from this store. They also had Tempest 2000 there. And on this side of the table there's a few more. There was Shining Force 3 and Mega Man X3. I didn't manage to get the price of that, but I can only presume it was very expensive. And a few cheaper Mega Drive games there, 'cause I'm not looking at just expensive stuff. And some Game Gear games that I'm looking to try and get into in the future, but for whatever reason I've never really picked any up apart from ones that I've just come across randomly in boot sales. There's Tetris Blast on the Game Boy. I'm not really sure what version of Tetris that is, I don't actually have it. Unfortunately, from what I've seen, a lot of the Game Boy Color exclusive games seem kind of boring to me. They seem kind of cheap compared to what you can get on the original Game Boy. I don't know if that's just my feelings on the system, but that's what I seem to find when I'm flicking through games at these sort of conventions. So I've never really been too interested in Game Boy Color, but original Game Boy is a completely different story. I love the original Game Boy, and there's so many great games you can get for it. I just flicked past Turrican there, another game I really want to get. And I can see at the top of the screen there's Mario Party. One of the only N64 games I don't actually have, that I actually want to have in my collection. And there's also Goemon over there on the right for 10 quid, which is an amazing price, and I really wish I'd picked that up. I didn't even notice it, I was too busy flicking through all the Game Boy games. And there's a better look at the N64 games there. Snowboard Kids for 6 quid, that one's an amazing game. A few more expensive ones at the top, Pokemon Stadium 2. I would have been really excited to find that one had I not already picked the game up before. And I'm just going to pause again here so you can take a look at some of the amazing backlit Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Classic mods there from Deadpan Robot. A really great stall, and they're always at these different events. And I love the fact that they put their Game Boy games in alphabetical order as well. I always find that really good, so I know exactly where to look. I did pick up 4 games from there, as I mentioned in my pickups video. And there you can see they've got them all alphabetized, and it's a really great way of displaying them. And they all come with their own little plastic cases as well, which I really appreciate. And a quick look at a few GameCube games there, nothing too exciting. I've pretty much got all the GameCube games I want at this point. There was a few more Saturn games there, and a few more rare games at the top. A bit more rare and expensive. And now we're taking a quick look at some DS games. And some Wii games as well. Nothing too exciting there. And a few more N64 games there, nothing too exciting either. And some PlayStation memory cards. And some SNES games. I like the way they were displayed, so you could just look at the shelf and see exactly what you were looking for. You can see Solar Striker there for the Game Boy. If you've never played that before, I highly recommend it, because it's a great game. I see Fighters R2 up there in the Neo Geo Pocket. That's a really great fighting game. And some boxed N64 and SNES games in there, which is always good to see. Didn't pick any up, but it's always fun to have a browse. And some Master System and Mega Drive games on the top shelf. And a few boxes full of PlayStation 1 games. Didn't really spend too long looking at them because they all look like fairly common games, but if you see anything interesting, definitely leave a comment, let me know if I missed anything, if there's anything I should look out for at the next event. More Saturn games here. There really wasn't anything very exciting at all in this box here. They were all really cheap games. And a few loose Game Boy games. I was fairly tempted with that Darkwing Duck there. I'm not really sure how that is on the Game Boy. A few, not really anything too exciting here. There's a Japanese Mega Drive game there. I didn't quite catch what that was. and I think there's some Japanese SNES games in this box, or maybe they're just normal SNES games, just loose ones. And taking another look through the Game Boy games there, but nothing too exciting. It's Mario All-Stars for 12 quid. If you haven't got that and you've got a SNES, that is the game to get for the SNES. It's really great. And at the top of this shelf, I'll pan up in just a second, there they are, 2 Virtual Boy games. Unfortunately, 2 Virtual Boy games that I already own. There's not really many Virtual Boy games for me left to get either. And I did also see Tetris, V-Tetris there. And there's Top Gear 2 for the SNES, a game I hear is really good. I was tempted to pick that one up, but as I said earlier, I was just focusing on Saturn games really. And a quick flick through some GameCube games. Harvest Moon there for a really good price, I think it was like 15 or something. Micro Machines on the Game Boy. San Francisco Rush for the Game Boy Color. I'd be really interested to see how that one plays, because San Francisco Rush on the Dreamcast is one of my favourite games ever. Definitely one of my top racing games, to say the least. And some more SNES games there. Lots and lots of SNES games. I'm not going to spend too long going over them, but if you do see anything interesting, although I do just want to pause up here. Yeah, you can see it really clearly now. Breath of Fire 2 at the top, and below that, even more exciting, Pocky and Rocky 2. And I really wish I'd picked that up, and Evo Search for Eden below it as well. 3 really rare SNES games that I really want to add to my collection, but for whatever reason, I sort of passed them up this time. So if they're there next time, I'll probably end up getting them. And a few more N64 games. And 2 Vectrex games. I did actually pick up Cosmic Chasm, but not from here. I picked it up from a different stall, and it also came with the box and the overlay. If you've seen my pickups video, you'll see that. There was a few WonderSwan colour games there, which is always great to see. Never really see too many WonderSwan colour games. It's kind of a forgotten system these days. And I'd love to get some more games for it, because I do really like the system. And I actually picked it up super cheap in Japan. This was a pretty meh stall, selling mostly original Xbox and PlayStation games. There was a few Atari and Television games there. They're always kind of interesting. And there's another Shining game there on the GBA, Shining Force. And they were also selling a Retro Pi with over 8,000 games preloaded onto it, which is nice, but I'm not really that into the emulating sort of things. So I'll just pause on this stall because I know they had some really great games. There's Rocket Knight Adventures for 25, my all-time favourite game on the Mega Drive. Enemy Zero up there for the Saturn, and Batman game for the Saturn as well. There was a load of really interesting Saturn games this year. I think that system was really well catered for at this event. And as you can see, I probably ended up picking up about half of them. So another quick look at a few more PlayStation 1 games. Like I said before, if you see anything interesting or anything I should pick up in the future, let me know, because I'm not too clued up on my PlayStation 1 games. But I would really like to try and get into it a bit more, because they are really cheap at the moment. I think it's a really good time to try and get some PlayStation 1 and 2, I suppose, because they're always really easy to find. There's a few more Saturn games there, nothing too expensive. Daytona USA, Virtua Cop, which I would really like to get, but I've also got to try and get the gun as well. And a nice selection of Pokemon plushies there too, and some NES games that were laid out on the table. Unfortunately, I don't think I went back over there to get that. This was a really great stall. They had a few rarer games at the top there. Nothing I don't already have though, so that was a bit disappointing. And a really nice selection of Game Boy and Game Boy Advances. And some Mega Drive games at the top too. So Shining Force 2 there. So in this event I could have actually picked up all 3 of the original Shining Force games. And I would definitely love to at some point. Maybe I'll go there specifically on a mission to pick up Shining games. And there we have, if I go back just a little bit, there's some of the rarer Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games there. A lot of Pokemon games. You can see Breath of Fire on the GBA, Pokemon Pinball. Some really good Game Boy games at the back as well. I saw Castlevania at the back there. And some nice little extra bits and pieces too. Here's another stall. This one was right at the back of the room. Nothing too exciting here. They do also have Goemon for the N64. I think they were selling that for 15, which isn't too bad, but I did see it for 10 on a different stall. So I was actually going to pick that up, so I'm pretty glad I didn't, because it was cheaper somewhere else. Nothing else too exciting. This store, on the other hand, is really exciting. This one was jam-packed full of amazing Japanese-only games. They had every system you could think of, and there was definitely a lot to choose from. And underneath the table as well, there was just more and more boxes of games to go through. Really enjoyed looking through this store. I didn't pick up too much. I think I only picked up one Game Boy game in the end and the Sega Saturn memory card, but it was definitely a lot of fun to look around. As you can see there's just tons of games. You could probably spend the entire event just looking through all these boxes. I think that's Breath of Fire there, the GBA version. There was also Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright for the Game Boy Advance, and that was never actually released outside of Japan for the GBA, so that'd be an interesting one to pick up. Yeah, just having a flick through. A lot of them were RPGs, unfortunately, so it's probably best that I didn't pick them ones up. There's loads of Japanese Saturn games here. I didn't pick any up from this particular stall. Maybe I got Tetris from there, I can't quite remember. And there's that weird puzzle game where you have to feed the animals different blocks. So if you guys know of any Japanese Saturn games that I should be looking into, definitely let me know, because as I've been saying over and over again in this video, I'm looking to up my Saturn collection a bit. Here's some Game Boy Advance games in the box. Here's one that was really exciting to see. This is Super Robot Tyson. A really, really rare game, as you can tell from the price tag there. But I've never actually seen it in person before, so that was quite exciting to see. Although I don't actually know if the game's any good or not, so I probably wouldn't spend that much money on it if I wasn't completely sure that I was going to love it. Do love collecting GBA games though, so maybe in the future I'll try and track that one down. And here's a few more Japanese Saturn games. There's some Virtua Fighter games there, and some that I have absolutely no idea what they are. Probably some weird hentai visual novel. There was Grandia, I think I just skipped past. Unfortunately, I don't think that ever came out in English on the Saturn. It only came out on the PlayStation, which is a bit of a shame because I would love to play it on the Saturn. I loved the second one on the Dreamcast when that came out. Let me just rewind a bit so it's a bit clearer. There's some games on a little display there. Sparkster for the SNES, really great game. Out to Lunch, a game that I picked up at the last time I was at this event. And a few boxed N64 games there as well. And that Trip World, no, that is not the official Trip World. There would be no way that that game was going for 19 quid. It would probably be 190 instead. This was actually a repro, but I was kind of tempted to pick it up because I do hear it is a really good game. And they had some Game Boy games in this nice little card folder as well to flick through. Nothing I hadn't already got, but it was still nice to have a look, and it's a really nice way of displaying Game Boy games. I am tempted to do that to the ones that don't fit in the display cabinet that I've got. So yeah, there's a nice selection of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games there for you to have a look at. I can see a boxed Mario and Yoshi in the corner there as well. And a few more N64 games there. I think they were all Japanese ones. I haven't actually got a way of playing Japanese N64 games, so there was not really much point me looking at all them. And some NES games there as well. I didn't really look at NES games too much at this particular event, but in some of the ones at the past I've picked up quite a few. And there's some DS games there. There's Scourge Hive. I remember playing that one when that came out actually. There's Gunpei DS, another game by Tetsuya Mizuguchi, I think that's his name, the guy who's working on Tetris Effect. So I really should have picked that up because I'm trying to get all the games that he's done. And New International Track and Field I can see there as well, which is another game that I want to pick up. Just because it has Sparkster as an unlockable character, and you know how much I love Rocket Knight Adventures. There's another very quick overview of some rarer games at the back there. I'm not going to keep pausing because this video could go on for hours if I do that, so I'm just going to leave the rest of the video to play now, and you guys can let me know if you see anything interesting. And there's some Neo Geo CD games. I haven't got a Neo Geo CD, and it seems like it's mostly just fighting games, which I'm not totally into. There's Bubble Bubble, that's one that I would really want to pick up. And there's also a few great shooting games for it as well. But the problem with the CD compared to the Neo Geo that takes carts is that the loading times are really bad apparently. So that sort of puts me off wanting to get the system. And there's a few more random games. There's some Hue cards. I was very tempted to pick up a few of these, but the prices were a little bit on the high side. But I guess that's just because I've been in Japan and I've seen how cheap they can be. But if you're not going to Japan, then these sort of events are a really great place to pick up a lot of games that you're looking for, because there was a lot there, and some more Japanese Saturn games behind them too. And Rhapsody on the PlayStation, I've never actually seen that one in person. I've got the DS game, which was sort of a remake of it, and I do really like it. Yeah, nothing else too interesting there. Just random Japanese games that I didn't really know what they were. I think I saw Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube as well. Mega Man X, Mega Man 4, two great games. I've pretty much got all the Mega Man games now. I think the only one I've got left to get is Mega Man 6 on the NES. I really can't wait until I find that. And hiding under there was Metal Slug. I did actually come back to pick this one up later on in the day, but it had actually sold, which I was really disappointed about because I did really want Metal Slug for the Saturn. Metal Slug, the whole series, is one of my favourite run and gun shooting series. I really do love them games. There's some boxed consoles up there. Really nice selection of boxed consoles actually. And some more Japanese Saturn games. Yep, this event was amazing if you're into Japanese Saturn. And some boxed Game Gear games as well there. So if I ever do get into Game Gear collecting, I'll definitely be taking a look at some of them in the future. If you guys know any good Game Gear games as recommendations for me, let me know in the comments. Because I would really like to get into the system. And I'd love to pick up one of them adapters so I can play the Game Gear on the Retro Freak. And here is the stall that I missed last time, so here you go, Paul, this one's for you. Really great stall actually, and thank you so much for your recommendations on some of the Saturn games for me to pick up. This must have been before I picked them up because they're all there out in that box there. There was a few more that I was looking at that I didn't actually get, and there was a few of the more expensive ones at the back as well, which maybe when I've got a bit more cash to spend I might take a look at them. There's a few more PC Engine games there. Nothing that I don't have already, I don't think. And here's a quick flick through some of those Saturn games. Yeah, if you know of any that are really good, let me know, and I'll probably pick them up next time if they're still there. What can I see there? Mortal Kombat. Don't know how the Saturn one of that is. Bug 2, that's one I've been looking at for a while. I quite like the original, even though it is a bit slow. So if they improved the game a bit, if they made it a bit faster in the sequel, I might think about picking that one up. Blast Chamber is one I kept looking at, and Magic Carpet as well. I do hear a lot about that game, but I think it's mainly just due to the history of it, the fact that it was one of Peter Molyneux's crazy inventions at the time. And there's the guy that runs the store, so it was really good to meet up with you again and have a nice chat about some Sega Saturn games. I can see at the back there was Shinobi X as well, that's what I'm looking into. But I think I'd rather get Shinobi 3 than Shinobi X. And that guy there, he was from Games You Loved, the YouTube channel and Twitter page. So I'm actually going to do a room tour and a collections video and send it over to them so that they can retweet it and add it to their community videos in the future. So I'm really looking forward to getting around to that, and hopefully it'll get me a few more views and subscribers on here as well. And it'll be great to become a bit more part of the retro gaming community, which is something I'd really love to do. And there's Hogs of War. That was one of the games that I was definitely going to pick up, but I kind of ran out of money by the time I got round to this part of the event, so I didn't actually get it. And there's some really nice artwork as well. I think they were perler beads, like pixel sprites, and some of them look like they were cross-stitch as well. I really love just random things like that. So here's some more loose SNES games and some NES games as well. There was Turrican, you can see Lolo 2, NES Open Golf, there was Merlin on the SNES there. Tales of Symphonia for 20 quid, which is an amazing price for that game. I really should have picked that up because I've never actually owned it. There's Ribbit King, a really interesting game that I do really want to play. I actually played that at an event before it was released and thought it was really fun, but then I never actually saw it in any shops, which was a bit weird, so I think it had a really limited release. I'm not sure if I've already looked over this stall, so I won't spend too long talking about what we can see here. Again, Wiz on the Sega Saturn, I seem to see that one around quite a lot, but I don't really know much about it, so if you guys know about it, definitely let me know. There's a quick look at a few Mega Drive games there. Flicky for the Mega Drive, I don't actually own that, and it would be a really good one to get, because it is quite interesting seeing some of Sega's earlier titles. And I do quite like Flicky, it's a fairly fun game. There's also Bust Move 2 there, and Street Racer. I've got Street Racer on the SNES, so it'd be kind of interesting to see how different it is. That game looks pretty good, kind of reminds me of Equinox on the SNES, the same sort of isometric 2D, 3D sort of viewpoint. Myst on the Saturn, kind of curious as to how that one plays compared to the PC version. Blazing Dragons, don't really know what that one's about. Discworld, I see that one around quite a lot. There's Blast Chamber again. It was fairly cheap, maybe I should have got that, but again, I have no idea about a lot of these games. Tunnel B1. Yeah, no idea. Spot Goes to Hollywood. That was one that my friend at work was selling to me, so maybe I'll ask him if he's still got it. Sonic 3D. I've got it on the Mega Drive, but I haven't got it on the Saturn, so I think the only main difference is the soundtrack. There's the Horde again. I think I did go through these earlier, but I didn't really give it a good look, so it's good to have a nice look through it now. There's that Dark Saviour game as well. I was really eyeing that one up, but I didn't pick it up in the end. And High Octane, that's the one that I said looks like Wipeout. If anyone knows if that game's any good, let me know. I think it's built on the same engine as that Magic Carpet game that I mentioned earlier. So it'd be interesting to see what it's like, but I'm pretty sure it's not that great, to be honest. And I think that was it. So there's just a nice little bit of the event with my GoPro. I didn't really get that much footage with the GoPro. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this tour of the London Retro Market for July 2018. Leave any comments in the description if there was anything you guys picked up. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my Patreon, and I'll see you in another video soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.